Hi, I'm Zach Singerman, and welcome to the Gen Z Jews Learning from Leaders series. In this series, I'm interviewing people on the topics of anti-Semitism, Israel, and leadership. Today, I'm extremely fortunate to have Mark Oppenheimer. Mr. Oppenheimer is the author of 5 books, a former religion columnist of the New York Times, and the host of Tablets Magazine's podcast, Unorthodox. He also directs the Yale Journalism Initiative. Right now, his newly released book, Squirrel Hill, The Tree of Life Shooting and the Soul of a Neighborhood, is receiving a lot of attention. As we come up on the 3rd anniversary of the Tree of Life attack, this book is particularly meaningful to me because my grandmother is a member of Dor Hadash, and my mom even had her bat mitzvah there. And Squirrel Hill has now really become an important place in my life, and I'm sure it's become an important place in all of ours. And Mr. Oppenheimer, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, could you provide a brief overview of your book?
Yeah, I was very curious how a community would handle the aftermath of a mass killing. So I traveled to Squirrel Hill, the Pittsburgh neighborhood where the Tree of Life shooting happened, 32 times, and I interviewed about 250 people and wrote a book about the neighborhood response to the shooting. So it's not a book about the shooter, it's not a book about the victims. It's about a book about how a community comes together in the aftermath of a mass killing and helps each other in the aftermath.
And what really compelled you to write this book, and why did you feel that the story was important?
I think I was compelled by a mix of factors. One is that my father grew up in Squirrel Hill, as did my grandfather. My great-grandfather also lived there, so there was a lot of family legacy. I'm also interested in neighborhood, and I was very interested in this tight-knit, thriving neighborhood of about 30% Jews. It's not predominantly Jewish, but it's substantively Jewish. And I was also interested in mass killings because we sort of live in the era of mass killings, sadly, and this was an opportunity to look at them from a different angle.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think really surprised you the most, or what was really unexpected during all of your interviews?
I don't know that so much surprised me. Every person has their own quirky, eccentric, individual story to tell. I think that I was intrigued by the range of different responses to the attack. Some people were very deeply traumatized. Some people felt that it did not affect them psychologically that much. Some people, of course, felt that it was caused by President Trump and Trumpism. Some people felt that he didn't really have anything to do with it. So, there was, I think, exactly what you'd expect given human diversity in terms of the responses. And if you talk to enough people, you will eventually see that human diversity come through. And that's what I did.
Now, you're a parent of a Gen Z Jew, and in your book, you really explore where the hatred of Jews comes from. What takeaway do you have for Gen Z Jews concerning anti-Semitism today versus before the Tree of Life shooting?
I don't think anything's changed. I mean, I don't think that a one-time event like this changes how we look at big questions like that. I think that, there's not a lot that Jews can do about anti-Semites. We just have to keep being ourselves and, be who we are, which is what I think all human beings are called to do, is to act with integrity and pride and just be themselves and figure out who that is. And, I certainly don't think that there's a lot of work that an individual Jew can do to change an anti-Semite's mind. Anti-Semitism is an intellectual sickness that affects some people, and we have to learn how to navigate it and how to deal with it and how to overcome it for ourselves. But we can't let it be the deciding factor in our lives or in our decisions. And what's more, I don't think it should be the essence of our Judaism. Judaism is not about those who hate us, right? Judaism is, an affirmative teaching of ethical monotheism that we gave to the world. And that's bigger than and much more important than people who hate Jews.
And do you really think that what kind of went on in the microcosm of Squirrel Hill was similar to kind of how America as a whole reacted, or do you think it was two very different ways of reaction?
I think people close to a killing are always more likely to feel affected by it. In this case, the people who were from Hill felt more deeply, and I think that they continue to think about it, which is not true of most of the United States. There are several hundred mass killings the Columbine shooting in 1999, and most people have forgotten most of them, because how could they not? We can't hold in our heads several hundred mass death events over the course of my adult life and your entire life, and so we have little choice but to sift most of them out. So that's how it goes. That's unsurprising, but most people, I think, outside of Greater Pittsburgh and certain precincts of the Jewish community have largely forgotten about the Tree of Life killing.
And is there anything else you'd like to say to Gen Z Jews about your book or being Jewish generally?
I would love to hear what some of them think of the book. There are, in fact, there's a whole chapter dedicated to the activism of some high schoolers from Taylor Alderdice High School in Squirrel Hill in the aftermath of the killing. And I think it's a very, very important chapter. And I think they saw certain things that the adults didn't necessarily see. So I would very much encourage people to check that out and read the book. And I put my email in the book too. So if they want to reach out to me, I'm easy to find.
Well, thank you, Mr. Oppenheimer, so much for being with me here today. It was great having you.
You bet. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye.